Hello and welcome to today's Lawn Association video. Today I'm having a bit of an upgrade. It's about time. I'm getting to that age. I mean my lawn, not me. If you do remember this lawn, this is the robot mown lawn. It's been a ryegrass fescue lawn. It's, you know, one that we care for, but it's one that we don't really want to mow. But our robot's getting a little upgrade. So I'd like to welcome along a very, very important guy in the lawn care world, a guy called Gary Whitney, who's going to talk to us about that upgrade. So let's go and meet him. So, a man who doesn't need a lot of introduction actually if you're in the lawn care industry. Former managing director of STIGA. Now resigning as a consultant. Is that right, Gary?
That's right, yeah.
And doesn't want to retire and loves lawnmowers so much. You're actually going to be installing some of these STIGA robot mowers.
Supplying and installing STIGA robot mowers in the Midlands with a new company called Smart Lawns Limited.
So you struggle to retire?
I'm not going to retire.
No, you obviously like this, and obviously what we've got today is one of the many. How many robot mowers are there?
Yeah, so in the STIGA autonomous range, the ones that use GPS, there is five models. Yeah.
So what's the? I mean, again, obviously not everybody knows what a robot lawnmower is. I think they're fantastic, and I'll talk about that in a while as to why lawn consultants like them. You know, there's a lot to be said about the time management of our lives these days, the lifestyles that we lead. A lot of people look at it as a chore sometimes, don't they, as of mowing a lawn, and of course it can be looked at that, but in truth, and I'll talk about that in a bit, but from my perspective it's very much down to what you're able to create on your lawn by using a robot 7 days a week.
Yeah, I think it's all about the quality of the cut, and for STIGA coming into robots, well, a good deal later than some of our competition, we decided that quality of cut was our top priority. In fact, quality of cut and the natural landscape. Because we wanted the mowers to be able to do a complete cut entirely as they pass over the grass. That's really important. To do a really clean cut, that's really important as well for the health of the grass, but also to not need to manage the lawn 24 hours a day. To leave the lawn free for wildlife, for hedgehogs and stuff like that in the overnight. Those are our top two priorities when we were designing the STIGA lawnmowers. So in some ways we've approached it a little bit differently.
Well, lawns are changing, and obviously with us at the association, the Lawn Association, we're very conscious that just because the quintessential understanding of the perfect lawn was something spoken about, it doesn't mean it's right, and it certainly doesn't mean it's sustainable and necessarily for the future. So we have got to think about the environment in many different ways. Now, you know, from my perspective, lawn mowing is a pruning technique, especially when you use the right grasses. You know, the truthful saying of right plant in the right place is never more important. We've got a grass species that when we prune it, i.e. mow it, it doesn't develop, but most of the UK is covered in this grass species that when you do prune it, it gets even thicker,
it loves it,
which is fantastic. So although it's a way of looking at it and go, well, it's great because I don't have to come and mow the grass. The real benefit from my perspective is if I've got the right grass species, all I'm going to do is thicken my lawn, and then when I do walk it, I can take the credit for it.
But it's interesting that you use the word pruning, because you wouldn't prune plants with a chainsaw. You'd prune it with something that's sharp.
My father-in-law would.
Some people would, maybe. You'd prune it with something sharp. You'd choose the right cutters to do that. And this is why it's so important that a fast-cutting, long blades, and plenty of them, gives you a clean cut, because then the pruning makes the plant healthier and thicker.
So I mean, this has got, one of the things we obviously spoke about off camera is that it's got bigger blades and more blades than some of the mowers out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Shall we have a little look?
Yeah, sure.
And you can tell us a bit more about that. I don't like to interrupt it.
But it's good that we do, because it's got safety features on it that mean if somebody does come and pick the lawnmower up, the blade stops immediately.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So here, this is our small platform machine.
Yeah. Does this have a model number or anything like that?
Yeah, this is an A750.
Yeah.
So this machine is designed to maintain 750 square metres of lawn.
Okay.
Or up to 750 square metres of lawn, based on it only going out twice a day.
Right.
That's a really important difference. So you can do that in the daytime. And I don't know what you'd suggest, but you know, we'd suggest the best time to cut the grass is after the dew's gone in the morning.
Of course.
Then give it a bit of time to grow during the day.
Yeah.
And then maybe trim it in the afternoon.
I mean, it varies. You know, one thing, you know, this obviously had a robot on here before.
Yes.
That didn't particularly have too many features, but it did allow you to set the times, although I was too busy and lazy to change it. But one of the, obviously, the important things was the seasonal changes. Suddenly mowing at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or what was perceived as the afternoon during the winter, was a time when sometimes the frost was there or hadn't gone or whatever. So it's very important to be able to have the adaptability to at least be able to change that.
Absolutely.
You know, the one size fits all is great, but it still needs a little bit of brain power, doesn't it?
So a lot of the early robots, you used to have to do the scheduling on the robot itself.
Yeah.
Bent over the robot, pressing sequences of buttons.
Yeah.
Looking at little displays.
Yeah.
On this machine, you do all the scheduling from the app.
Yeah.
And you can do it from anywhere in the world.
Wow.
Because these machines communicate with our central computers in Italy.
Yeah.
They communicate through a mobile phone signal.
Okay.
This machine has a SIM card in it, and the other component to this product is a reference station, which we have mounted on the shed over there.
Yeah.
That also has a SIM card in it. And so while those two devices are connected to our cloud, your phone can connect to that cloud and interact with both of them. So you can sit comfortably in your holiday home in Spain, setting the schedule for your lawnmower, resetting it to half-hour intervals, changing, removing, very, very simply. Yeah. You can even, as I'm guilty of doing myself, watch your lawnmower cutting the lawn.
Can you?
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah. It's horribly compelling viewing.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure.
So back to the blades. So on the small platform machines, which is the A750 and the A1500, these products have got a small disc with 4 blades on it. Yeah. But you see how long these blades are. Yeah. You know, they give a super clean cut. Yeah. They're very sharp. So really, if you're handling the blades, do it with gloves on.
Are they sharpeable? That's a word?
No, they're not.
Right. So when they've worn, again, that's one of the critical bits that a human has got to learn to do. Yes. Most people don't understand how important the blades of a lawnmower are. Yeah. You know, apart from the look of a lawnmower, the backup service, and all those wonderful things. The blades are really the most important. Yes. And the one thing about automatic mowers and automatic watering systems is leaving them to be automatic, you'll fall over and fail somewhere. And you know, with these blades, what would they generally last? Do you think?
I think you have a little hour meter on your thing that tells you how many hours the mower's mowed for. Yeah, that's useful. I think it's worth checking. And maybe replacing the blades after 250 to 300 hours of use. But it will depend on if you've got a lot of cones or
if you've got grass species. You know, ryegrass, as we know, is very tough. Yes. That will probably mean that your blades have got to be sharpened perhaps a bit more. Yeah, yeah. Fescue is a very wiry grass, and when it dries, it becomes quite tough as well, so that can have an effect. But basically, you'd monitor it yourself.
You'd monitor it yourself. So you flip the lawnmower up. Now, the thing about these blades is, when they've worn a bit, really the only way to tell is a little bit of rounding at the edge here. Okay. Because it's still a very sharp blade, even when that edge is rounded. Yeah. And a good indication of the blade condition is if you set a schedule for a mower to go out and cut for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, these mowers will cut for long periods of time depending on the model and the battery. But if you're setting it for mowing for 2 hours or 4 hours, and it's coming back to charge within that time, then it's using more energy.
What about rainfall? I know it's a silly thing, but what about mowing in the rain? Does it have that sensor yet,
It's got a rain sensor on it.
Okay.
And what the rain sensor does is when it sees the moisture across these two silver contacts.
Okay. Yeah.
Then if the rain sensor's activated
Yeah.
in the app, then the robot will go home.
Yeah.
And it will wait for either 4 hours, 8 hours, or 12 hours, depending on the sensitivity that you've set.
Okay.
It's, again, all in the app.
But it'll be adjustable manually if you suddenly think, well, it's okay now. You'll be able to readjust that, will you?
Yes, you would, yeah. So you'd be able to turn the rain sensor off.
Yeah.
And if the robot has got enough charge and it's ready to go out, then it will go out in its scheduled time. But at any time, what you can do is you can do what we call a spot cut.
Yeah.
So on your app, you've got two cutting settings.
Yeah.
Schedule and spot cut.
Okay.
Spot cut is you just instructing the robot to go out and do it and cut.
Yeah. Okay.
Schedule is it's going to wait until an event time occurs, and then it's going to go out and cut, and then it's going to come back. So at any time you could sit either in here in your house or somewhere else completely remote, and just send the mower out to cut if you wanted to.
And of course you do visually see, with blunt blades, you do see that sort of white tinge as well.
Yes.
Which is, again, it's automatic is slightly dangerous.
Yeah.
It still needs human interaction and intelligence, certainly with blade sharpening and mowing in the wet. Because again, if you haven't got a sharp blade during that slightly wet period, that will give you a whiter tinge at the same time.
It will, almost like a blunt cut.
Yeah.
So these, even actually, if the blades are quite blunt, still don't, because the tips. Imagine the thickness of that blade tip, even blunt compared to the thickness of a lawnmower.
Yeah.
A normal lawnmower blade, and these mowers they run at the same speed as our lawnmowers.
Yeah.
So we've used all of our knowledge about cutting grass with conventional petrol or battery powered ride on or walk behind lawnmowers. We've used all of that experience and put that into robots. In fact, we've approached the robot design from the perspective of a company that's focused on cutting grass well.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, it's always been, mulching has always been part of STIGA'S DNA.
Yeah.
And of course, these machines multi-clip in the same way. They're tiny little clippings.
Yeah.
Which fertilise the ground. I mean, that's part of what we do. So
and water. The leaf blade 70%.
Water,
don't know who calculates that, but probably the same person that calculates that the grass covers 27% of our planet.
Is that right?
Which I thought it was 26.8. But they do. I mean,
I thought the sea covered 90%.
It's I think of land mass. I think they're talking. Yeah, but it's very odd who comes up with those little figures. I mean, obviously this one is damn sexy looking as well. I love that colour.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
I know some of them. I don't know too many of the brands, but obviously the one we had was I suppose camouflage green, which again, it is a lawnmower, it's doing a purpose, but there's nothing wrong with making it look a bit smarter.
Automatic mowers need to be subtle as well as quite slick.
Yeah.
I think I see some others around, and they look very gadgety.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
I think it's really important that they're quiet. This is I think the quietest, if not one of the quietest.
Yeah.
Even when the blades are spinning, it's really, really quiet. So it needs to be quiet and a subtle companion in the garden.
Yeah.
But actually, what you can do again from your app, if you're sitting here having a meal with your friends in the middle of the lawn and the robot's out busily doing its job, you can just tell it to go away for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it will do everything else it needs to do.
Yeah.
But not come and come in the area that you've identified as a temporary go away zone.
Yeah.
It's got some really clever clever features.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's have a little look about how to set it up, shall we?
Okay,
So let's
yeah,
go and
yeah.
talk about that.
Yep.
So, Gary, one of the features I'm hoping it's going to be able to do, I've got this little circular area
Yep.
on my daughter's mother-in-law's lawn here,
Yep.
and when I installed the old robot mower, this was sort of too narrow.
Right.
It was a wide system as well. I couldn't sort of work out.
Yeah.
Didn't really have the time either, but I couldn't work out how to get it to cut this little circle.
Yes.
How do you, or can it do it, and how do you do it?
Yeah, you know, this is one of the benefits of having an autonomous mower. So an autonomous mower is one that's got a reference station and GPS location, and so you can plan and map using your app.
Okay.
And you can add different zones. So at the moment we have this zone here,
Yep.
which is its home zone.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is add this as an additional zone.
Yep.
And I do that by driving the robot around the perimeter of the zone to create this as a separate cutting area, and then link this area to the home zone.
Right.
And what that'll mean is when the robot's completed its task here,
Yeah.
it will follow a link through this really narrow area.
Yeah.
So this is too narrow for it to mow this bit.
Yeah.
But it will follow a little path to come into this area, which it can manage, and then it'll mow this area in an organised way,
Yeah.
up and down, and leave you a lovely finish.
Yeah.
So one of the real beauties of this is you can tell the lawnmower which way exactly to mow.
Jamo.
So if you wanted to line up, and this is a perfect situation where you'd want to line up the way the lawnmower is mowing,
Yeah.
so that it's the same maybe as this, and so it looks like
Yeah.
you've come out with your roller mower and mowed it,
Yeah.
get that Wimbledon finish. You can do that with this machine.
And we've got an area over here which, whilst the wind starts to whip up again, we've just, as you do, donate a bit of land to your daughter. So we've got quite a long area here.
Okay. Yes.
Which eventually this don't judge the hedge, anybody, by the way. That's the wet weather, I think. We're going to link in this at the same time at some stage, once we do get a fence up. At the moment I'm with a lovely STIGA'S Swift, which is fantastic, mows it absolutely fine, but could we add that to it?
Yeah, yeah. You can have a maximum of 10 zones. 10 zones.
Wow.
And within those zones you can have obstacles, so you can have things that the mower avoids.
Yeah.
And then you can link the zones with paths.
Yeah.
So 10 zones would comfortably, as long as there's a hole in that hedge for the robot to go through, then it would maintain this area.
Yeah.
But let's say you had another area somewhere else,
right,
that it wouldn't be possible for the mower to independently drive to. Perhaps there's a gate in the way.
Right, okay.
Then you can do what we call a closed area.
Yeah.
And a closed area, you need to choose the size of it depending on the model of robot that you've got.
Yeah.
And we can provide that information. With a closed area, you just pick the robot up, fully charged, you take it to that place, and then you press play.
Yeah.
And the robot will manage that closed area in one battery charge.
Yes.
This is why you have to choose the size of it quite carefully.
Yeah.
In one battery charge, and when it's finished, you recover the robot and take it back to its base to recharge.
Cool.
So even with a a complicated garden like this, lots of different areas to maintain, tree cover.
Yeah.
It's quite a complex, beautiful English garden.
Yeah.
This is exactly the right sort of mower for maintaining this type of garden.
Fantastic. Any other features you can think about?
Oh, crikey, yes.
Quickly.
Yeah.
We're two men that could talk about lawns forever,
we could. So being able to add and edit perimeters, that's a really useful feature.
Okay.
So,
again, all done on the app?
All done on the app.
Right.
So your dealer will do your initial installation.
Yeah.
So when you buy a robot, somebody will come along, they'll choose a great spot for the reference station, they'll put the charging base, they'll use all their expertise and knowledge to do your initial installation.
Yeah.
But things change.
Yeah.
You plant a hedge, you expand borders, you change borders. in the app you can choose to edit just parts of a perimeter.
Yeah.
So you choose a start point and an end point. The robot makes its way to the start point, and then you drive to the end point that you've identified, and it records a whole new perimeter with that bit changed.
Fantastic.
So great if you want to just modify the garden. No need to dig a wire up or have a whole new installation by your dealer again. That's something that you can do yourself with the app.
Yeah. So it's pretty much good. I mean, it can do obviously everything that a human does, but a lot more.
Yes.
Which again, when you think of the right plant in the right place, having the right mower that's going to do probably a better job than a lot of lawn mowing people do.
Yeah, I think
apart from obviously the little bit of interaction that you do need, you know, keeping an eye on the weather and obviously keeping an eye on the blades, which are important on any mower.
And also your expectation. So the one thing that the robot doesn't do is get right up to an edge.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so.
A feature for another day, perhaps? Or?
It's difficult because there's whole safety issues.
Yeah.
So you know, there's regulation that says how close the blades can be to the edge.
Of course.
Some manufacturers get around it by putting guards in that prevent you from putting your hands in, which is okay, a reasonable way of getting around the regulation.
Yeah.
But actually, that also interferes with the grass.
Yeah.
So the grass doesn't travel into the blades in the right way, and even then it won't go all the way to the edge.
Yeah.
You could put a nylon line on the edge, but you know, these aren't really solutions.
Yeah.
I think the ideal companion for a robotic lawnmower is a small battery lawnmower.
Yeah.
Of
course. I do.
And then you just whip around the edges with that. Of course, you need to pick up branches and things like that. Robot's pretty resilient. Yeah. We'll bump into them. If it gets stuck in the blades, you'll get a message immediately telling you that there's a problem. So you need to react to those or have an ability to react to those. Yeah. So that's quite important. So it isn't entirely effortless. Yeah. Having the right expectation and listening to the advice of your dealer about positions of things
they're a big
really
part of this network, aren't they?
Absolutely,
you know, very sort of undervalued in my opinion.
Yes,
you know, they are. I mean, we sort of take them for granted a bit. We take lawns for granted. We take lawnmower, garden machinery companies, whatever you want to call them. Dealers, we take them for granted as well. The homeowners do.
They're invisible until
if their lawns fail, you tend to be the problem, and really it's not. It tends to be the right grass, the right way of mowing it, etc., etc. So essentially, I mean, we've got a very sustainable thing here, haven't we? We've got. If you use the right plant in the right places, I keep harping on, but if you use the right plant that is prunable and will thicken up by the using a robot, we've got a robot mower itself that's going to put a little bit of food and water back into the lawn.
Absolutely.
So you're going to need certainly less watering as well. You've got a plant, the right plant again, which is going to create a denser lawn when you use one of these, which means your herbicide requirement should be non-existent.
Wide fertilizer,
So, and then of course you can use products like we've got, such as True Grass, which is made from food waste. It's a food waste fertilizer, soil conditioner.
Yes.
So you've got everything you need, and not just in terms of having a better lawn, but a more sustainable lawn as well, haven't you?
Done quietly, with much less energy.
Both
in terms of the product itself and in terms of you. I mean, you know, I've met lots of people over my many long years in this industry, and I've met lots of passionate grass cutters. Yeah. People that love mowing their lawns. Yeah. I have one particular one in mind who has a massive area, and I had to really convince him to try one of our robots. But he's now a passionate robot fan. Yeah. Doesn't mean he doesn't go out on his ride-on mower. He still does. He goes out on it to do the edges, and he goes out on it just to drive around the garden and keep away from people sometimes. So
I suggest now we've got the mower doing all the work.
Yeah.
I think we
let's
ought
go
to
to
hit
the
pub.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go.